Thank you. Thank you. So, thank you everybody for tuning in. If you have not tuned in, please tune in. And also, if you would like to share, please share. Because tonight I have the beautiful women of the Frederick Moms Demand Action. And I am so honored to have these ladies on my platform right now. We have Eileen. Did I say that right?
You
Okay. We
got
have
it.
Meredith. We have Annie. We have Jess. And these women represent Frederick. And I've actually they represent Frederick, but you ladies are like a beast in Annapolis. I had came to Annapolis one time with you guys, and I was at work actually, and my boss I told him what I was going to go do. UPD supports Moms on Demand, Moms Demand Action. So they're like, go ahead and go to Annapolis and support them. Go ahead. So I was able to I was able to be on spot and still come support you ladies in Annapolis. And I thought it was an amazing job that you ladies did. And to see all those shirts, you guys are numbers and numbers and numbers, I must say. So thank you so much. I'm so honored. Let's get to the conversation. As you guys, ladies, I explained to you, this is very informal conversation. And I just want to, one, learn about your organization. I get texts from you guys like clockwork. I mean, you guys are on it. And so I have this like, what do you call that? Happy calendar that I never use. A happy planner, I never use it, but it's okay. But I would like to know what year did the organization start in Frederick, and how did you ladies come up with just like with wanting to start an organization in Frederick instead of like just supporting other chapters around you? Anybody can go
Well,
first.
I'm the oldest one, so maybe I should go first here. And please chime in. I'm trying to adjust my volume here. Please chime in, everybody else, if say something wrong or miss out. But um, I guess the Frederick chapter of Moms Demand Action has been around since late 2014. Uh, Soon after the National Association was founded by Shannon Watts. And so now we have about 270 active supporters in Frederick County. And I know that there are chapters in almost every county in Maryland now. And some of the western counties are lumped together because, they're small in population. But here in Frederick, we have a very active chapter. And as you know, we're, busy doing all kinds of things. Oh, Carolyn, you're muted.
I remember going to Annapolis, and some of the women that had the table, a lot of these women actually have stories behind of why they joined. I mean, it was their child or a relative. Could you ladies tell me why you joined? If it was just to support the other women, or do you have personal stories that you can relate to? What pushed you to be an advocate for this organization?
I'll start. um, so I knew Moms Demand Action was doing the good work, like pretty much everybody who sees, mass shootings on the television or everyday gun violence on your daily news. It's just horrifying, right? And so for a long time, I knew that Moms Demand Action existed, and I wanted to support them. But in my mind, I've got 4 kids and I'm a full-time teacher and I don't have time to volunteer. And, like I'll follow what they're doing and I'll, write supportive comments on their pages. But, showing up for stuff like that sounds like a lot. But then 2017 happened and, I looked around and I thought, how are we electing these people who don't really represent me, and I really need to get more involved. And so I just got involved in sort of local politics generally. I'm sure Isela Bravo. She was running for delegate, and I saw her on social media all the time, and I thought, I should support her campaign. She lives right by me, and I agree with her. And so she pulled me on to help with her campaign, and she said, I'd like your help, and can you help me organize? Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started following local politics and state politics, and on my social media. So on my Facebook and my Twitter, I was following my legislators. And after the Parkland shooting, like most moms, I put my kids on the bus the next morning with my heart in my throat, thinking, are they going to come home right after another one of these? I always feel that way. And so I put them on the bus the next morning, and I'm, scrolling through my social media before I get to the day's laundry. And I see that my state senator posted a picture of himself with his NRA rug from his Annapolis office. And that was me smiling, holding up this NRA image, their emblem. And he's just standing there smiling, and that's the post. There's no words, there's no condolences, there's no, whatever, whatever. Nope, just NRA smiling. And I thought, I can't be represented by this person. Absolutely not. And I was talking to Isela about it. She's like, I wish you would run. I was like, I think I will. Like, can you help me? So we went to Annapolis the next day. And I filed because I just couldn't allow that person with that mentality to represent me. Like, this is your response. This is your public face. And this is your response to a national tragedy in which children were murdered in their school. And that's your response. No way. So I ran for office in 2018 for his seat. Gun violence prevention was, top of mind, but not really something that a lot of Frederick voters are like thinking about on a daily basis. And after I lost the election, the Frederick lead, Amanda O'Neill, called me maybe like a week later and was like, would you like to be our legislative lead? And I said, yes, absolutely. And she said, do you want to think about it? I said, no. I want to be your legislative lead. This is the community I want to join. This is the work I want to do. Yes. And I love it. And so ironically, years ago, when I was just sort of following Moms Demand Action and I didn't have time to volunteer, I just ran for office, which, as you know, is like a breeze, right? It doesn't take any time at all. No, that's sarcasm. It takes a lot of work all day, every day, and you stay up all night thinking about it and planning what you're going to do. So, running for office was awesome. And, being a member of the Frederick group in the Maryland chapter of Moms Demand Action is just the icing on the cake. I'm just so happy that I landed here. And we do really good work, and we're great people. We have a lot of
Thank you for that. Thank you. And does anybody else have stories of why they joined? Like, it was just something like just that you guys felt like, you know what, I can definitely support what the message is, what the mission is, and definitely support women that have, like, suffered from a child being killed by gun violence, or was it something personal that made you join?
So for me, I retired 3 years ago, and my career was in public health and suicide prevention. And I'm a little driven. When I'm passionate about something, I'm passionate about something. And I wanted to be able to keep working in suicide prevention and social justice. I worked for the feds, and so you can't do much in social justice when you work for the feds. So I joined Moms because it's not intuitive, but one of the most effective ways to prevent suicide is to take away the person's access to whatever it is that they want to use to kill themselves. And since firearms are half of all suicides are by firearms in this country, most men who die by suicide use firearms. And one of the most effective ways to stop suicides is to temporarily get someone away from firearms. And we'll talk later, I know, about extremist protective orders and red flag laws, but that's what I do.
And that's definitely, I'm glad you went into that topic, because did any of you ladies else want to share why you joined, or do you like? I see Meredith. Wait.
I mean, mine is not nearly as dramatic as either Jess's or Eileen's, but you know, I too joined right after the Parkland high school shooting. I have a very good friend in Pennsylvania who was part of Moms Demand Action in Pennsylvania. So I had seen for years a lot of the good work she had been doing in the gun violence prevention movement, and kind of followed her along, and was always sort of in the back of my mind. And, you know, I had kids, we moved a lot, you know, it was kind of crazy times. But after Parkland, I knew it was time to join. And I went. Fortunately, they had a meeting like 2 weeks after Parkland here in Frederick. The Frederick group had a meeting and I joined, and I got involved pretty quickly. They were really looking for new people, and a group of us showed up and said, we're ready to work. And so I've done, you know, I went to work, and it was a very good thing to do. And I've never regretted it. So,
and I think that's, you ladies are right. I think certain things that happen globally motivate people for change, right? And it's something that is like it has to shock us, which is very sad that we get involved when things shock us, right? It's like, you know, it's going around, but when it hits the strings, it's like, oh, now I need to do something. And so it's like, and all of us are guilty of doing it. It's like, we just need something to put that fire under our butts. And we've had mass shootings, like, oh my God, like it has increased since the new election. I'm gonna hold what I really want to say on that. Annie, go ahead.
I can't let everybody else go.
Of course you can't.
No, I think that would be extremely unfair.
Unfair.
Just a small thing. I retired after teaching for 43 years, and I taught math. And the numbers were so disturbing every day reading. And I know that mass shootings are, you know, they just punch us right in the guts, right? But it was the day-to-day carnage that you read about every day in the paper. And you know, the fact that firearms are the leading cause of death of American children, the leading cause of death of American children, not just in Maryland, which is true in Maryland, but also across the country. And my husband and I had just come back from living in Italy while he was working there for a few months in 2015. And the contrast to the type of environment that we have here compared to other places. You all know that the United States is so much more violent than almost every other country of the same economic level as we are. So I have grandchildren. I want them to live a healthy, long life. And I was retired and I miss teaching. And I couldn't stand it anymore. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Well, I wish you would have took me to Italy with you, because I would have wanted to go. But I agree also that a lot of countries look at our city as United States as the most violent. That's where they learn all their violence from. It's us. I mean, and it's sad to say that, but that's what it is. And when I think of Moms Demand Action and their mission about gun violence and getting guns off the street, I would love for you ladies to clear up some things about, some people have their own analogy in their head of what your organization really does, right? So then you have the gun carriers that feel like you guys want to take all their guns away. And then is it the police brutality with guns? Is it gun on gun violence? Is it, so there's so many layers when you talk about gun violence. It could be, like you said, suicide. It could be mass shootings. It could be crime in urban areas. It could be crime in Frederick. The numbers are increasing of how many shootings we're having in Frederick. I mean, that's something we don't want to talk about because we don't talk about that in Frederick, right? But if you read the newspaper, like Annie said, you see it. It's like it's happening. So are we going to really act like it's not there, or we're going to address it? So I want to know what you ladies are doing locally in Annapolis to push your narrative and your mission to the community and to Annapolis and congressmen of what actually needs to be done. Because is it safe to say that most moms that are on part of this organization do not own guns? Or is it just safe to, or is it just you guys are just against how guns are used? So I want to be able to give you guys the opportunity to clear that up for the audience and what Moms on Demand does.
So that was like 18 questions. I'm going to respond. No, that's great.
I'm sorry.
You're the best interviewer. I mean, this is fun. Let me say that my husband is a veteran. We are a gun-owning family. My sons were shooting from young ages. There are we have many gun owners in Moms Demand Action. It's not just moms; it's moms and others. We've got we've got men. We certainly have people that don't have kids, but there are plenty of us who are gun owners. I believe that people have a right to have guns. We have a Second Amendment, but I think that we can all agree that some people shouldn't have guns. People who behave in ways that are a danger to themselves and others should not have guns. And sometimes we need to take guns away from people who are in crisis temporarily until they get the help they need and the crisis is resolved. And some people should never have guns. Nobody wants a violent person to be walking around the streets, and when they lose their temper, we all want to be safe. Most people who own guns in this country own guns because they want to keep themselves and their families safe. We totally get that. We totally believe in that. And that may mean taking firearms away from other people who might harm you or your family. And sometimes it means temporarily getting rid of the firearms in your own home so that someone who is feeling suicidal or someone who, because of maybe they have a mental illness where they have psychotic breaks. Mm-hmm. Yes, you absolutely need to keep guns locked up. All responsible gun owners keep their firearms locked up. But sometimes you just need to get them out of the house. So we believe in the Second Amendment, but we also believe in common sense gun legislation.
So all you right-wing people, they're not trying to take your guns. They don't care if you have your guns. It's just the people that shouldn't have the guns with mental illness, drug issues, people that have criminal backgrounds. You shouldn't have guns. Like that's how I feel. I don't know. I just feel like some people don't understand, as you said, Eileen, that your husband's a veteran, and my ex-husband was also a veteran. I was a military spouse for 13 years. And so I know how that PTSD can function, right? Like I know there's soldiers that sleep in the bed with their guns because that's what they did in downrange, and their mental can't let it go. But if their wife touches them wrong, they can pull that gun and shoot her. There's so many things that mentally people that have a mental issue should not have guns. Not saying that all mental issues are on that scale, right? But if you are suffering from PTSD, if you're suffering from there's things that I know that are put in place, or maybe they're not put in place, of what is considered mental of not having guns. So you guys can keep going and elaborate on that, and I hope I didn't ask a load of questions.
Well, I'd just like to add a group of people who also shouldn't have access to guns is children, right? And so Annie is our Be Smart lead, and that's one of our educational programs. And so if she wouldn't mind talking a little bit about that, that's another group of people who, need to be protected, right? And we need laws that require safe storage. You're muted.
I never know whether to hit the little mute button that's on my name or the one down below that. So bear with me. So Moms Demand Action has several missions. One of them is the legislative mission, which Jess will talk about because it's so important. And another is community outreach and partnership, which Meredith will talk about, I'm sure. And then there's a public education mission. And Eileen and I are part of that public education mission. So Eileen will be talking about the extreme risk protection orders that were recently passed in Maryland and so on. And my role in the Frederick County Be Smart chapter is, Moms Demand Action chapter is Be Smart. And Be Smart is a public education campaign that aims to help parents, teachers, child care givers, help them normalize conversation about guns with their children and with other adults, and not about guns globally, but about guns in their own home. So its aim is to keep children and teens safe from the guns in their own homes, in their own cars, in the homes of their friends and their family members. And hopefully, our mission will help prevent deaths that are unintentional because children find guns in their own homes. And if these guns are not securely stored, and by that we mean locked in a cabinet, apart from ammunition, unloaded and locked, and ammunition is locked somewhere else, then it doesn't matter how many times you educate your child about the danger of guns. Doesn't matter how many times you say you're going to punish that kid if he goes anywhere near that gun. If that gun is in a drawer in a bedroom, that child will find the gun, knows where it is. And we have all heard stories in Moms Demand Action, of 2-year-olds finding guns and pulling the trigger. You think they're not strong enough, but they are strong enough. And yes, these deaths, these unintentional deaths by children, where they kill themselves or they kill somebody else in the family, or they kill a friend who's over to play, those account for about 1% of all gun deaths in the country and in this state. But every death that's preventable should be prevented if we can do that. And so even though like gun death by police is about 1 to 1.8% of all gun deaths, that doesn't mean we ignore it, right? We're certainly paying attention to that, and we should be. And so Be Smart is paying attention to the 1% that is, we think, preventable if we can educate people about how to store their guns properly and how to talk to their own children and the parents of their children's friends when they send those kids out somewhere else to play, right? And the other aspect of Be Smart is to recognize the role that guns play in suicide among children and teens. And I'm talking about children 10 years old. That's from 10 to the younger children the suicide rate among younger children is increasing over the past decade. So suicides, I have the numbers here someplace for overall in the United States among children, of all deaths by gun of children, about 41% of those are suicides. And in Maryland, it's about 18% of the 300 children who, no, excuse me, that's 58 children who died in Maryland last year. About 18% were suicides. And if somebody attempts suicide with a firearm, there's a good chance that that person will kill himself or herself. And so if we can keep the guns in the home away from the children in the home, then we hope we can prevent suicides among children and help those children get the therapy and the help that they need to go on and live fulfilling and happy lives. So I could speak a lot more, but I'm going to stop because there are a lot of people to say a lot of other
Yeah. So, and all the viewers, you can see I put up there. Thank you, Jess, for putting that up there. The Be Smart. That's the information where you can get it from. And I thank you for that, audience. If you are a gun carrier, you know people, definitely register for this. We personally are gun carriers in our house, and we do not keep it in the drawer. Like, it shouldn't be in the drawer. Like, dude, please don't put your gun in the drawer. Like, go get a safe where kids do not know the code. And like they said, the ammunition should be in one safe, the gun should be in another safe. And we even have these little red strings that we put in and has a little key. So I wish I could I'll probably pull one out before we go. But it's a little string that you can get and order from Amazon. So it's so many things that you can do to keep your kids safe and keep your family safe and keep their friends safe. So definitely get that information to what Jess put up about Be Smart for Kids and pass it along.
Just one more thing. The Be Smart campaign in Frederick County and all over the country involves getting out in the community. So if any of you listeners out there, we have had tables in the streets at National Night Out, along with the city police, at the sheriff's open house. In PTAs, we hand out information to school children in their backpacks. We can come and talk to any groups. We can come to your street fair. We've been to the Asbury Street Fair. We've been all over the county. So get in touch with us and we will be happy to come and talk to you.
Thank you, Annie. Now, I know that you ladies, like I said earlier, are huge in Annapolis. And I know Frederick ladies are huge in Annapolis. Thank you for that. So, my little plug, when y'all see me in Annapolis, make sure you come to my office. Because I love seeing that stuff. So, Jessica, I want you to tell me what you guys are doing in Annapolis and how, and you ladies, whoever work with Jessica when it comes to Annapolis, and how you guys play a role in that.
Well, don't worry, Taralyn. No legislator gets unvisited. Our goal when we go to Annapolis every January is to have a meeting with every legislator. So we will
Good.
For Good. Sure. So yeah, what we do in Annapolis is we try to get gun violence prevention advocates from all over the state to talk to their legislators. It's just effective, right? When a legislator can hear from constituents in his or her office saying, this is important to me, then that carries some weight, right? And so we're just trying to get constituents to talk to their legislators. That's what we're doing in our advocacy day. And we do that once a year. But, you know, throughout the session, we're texting, we're calling, we're tweeting, we're Facebook messaging. We are contacting our legislators constantly to ask them to pass the bills that we support. Our most recent success was the passage of the background check on long guns.
Mm-hmm. Good job.
3 years in the making. But we did it. And that goes to show that, this is a marathon. It's not a race. And the culture of gun violence in this country has been established over decades, right? And the NRA has been working in state houses for decades to loosen gun laws and put guns in the hands of every American, regardless of, your ability to own one. So we are there every year, and we are not going to stop until we have moved the needle on gun violence in this country. Next up is ghost guns. Ghost guns are sort of do-it-yourself gun kits. And the problem with ghost guns is that they're not registered. They don't have a registration number. So I can go online and I can buy 80% of a gun and put it together at home. And then I can buy the other 20% of the gun from another retailer. And then that's not a gun. It's just, parts and a kit, and it's fun, which it may be, but it doesn't have a serial number. So there's no way to trace it.
Wow.
And so these guns are getting used in more and more crimes, and there's no way to trace that gun to a dealer. There's no way to trace that gun to a buyer. And so this is sort of becoming the preferred method of gun violence for violent criminals, because they know that that gun is then untraceable. And so that's next up in Annapolis. We're going to work on passing legislation that would restrict ghost guns or require them to be serialized. So you could take them to a gun seller, and that person would apply a serial number to the gun, and then you could manufacture that gun yourself. And so we're working on, what that legislation will look like, and we've had legislation come up this past session to ban ghost guns, or at least restrict them in some way. And with the police reform bills they were going through, we really supported them heavily. And that was sort of most important, not only to us, but to the legislators in Annapolis. And so the ghost gun bill didn't make it out of committee. It wasn't there because of these police reform bills, which we supported. And we are so grateful that they went through. We passed them, and that's going to help us reduce police violence, which is gun violence in the state of Maryland. Regardless of what we saw in Ocean City last weekend, we're going to try and hold our police departments accountable in Maryland and make sure that we're reducing gun violence that way.
And so thank you for that. And I definitely know that Annapolis was crazy this session. And there had those, like you said, those police reform bills took precedence over a lot of other bills, which rightfully so. And so that's why I want to thank you, Jess. That's why I wanted to say to viewers, like, if your bill did not get passed, just know that there was other bills that were definitely been in the making for years. And it's been a lot of victories for a lot of people. And so they took precedence. And I think that was good it was in a good sense, it was good. So next session, it'll probably open up a little more.
Well, I wanted to loop Meredith in because...
Yep, I'm going to loop Meredith in.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, then...
So Meredith, it's your turn. What are you doing with Moms on Demand, and what are you doing in Annapolis? Tell me.
Okay, so no, I don't go. Well, I go to Annapolis because I support, and it's very empowering. The first time I went was in 2019, I guess. Yes, in 2019, and going to visit your state representatives is amazing. You can talk and you can feel like you're doing the right thing and saying what you believe in. So it's amazing. And you can listen and sit and listen to our bills going up and everything. It's very exciting. So I love going to Annapolis. I missed it this year. Anyway, so what do I do? So I currently am the community outreach lead for Frederick Moms Demand Action. And I just took that position over a couple of months ago. So as we kind of come out of 2020, we're sort of at a restart with our community partners and our community outreach after last year. And we've decided, Moms Demand Action sort of as a whole has decided that our direction with community partners and community outreach is to ask our partners what they need from us. Because we know that our partners are already in the community doing good things. They're doing good work. They're doing things that need to get done. And we want to help them with what they need. So that's sort of our ask. We're reaching out to new partners. I'm communicating with our existing partners. And we just want to know what they need from us because we have a lot of ways we can help them. For example, I have a few lists here. We have a wonderful group of core volunteers that like to volunteer. So we reached out, the Blessings in the Backpack reached out to us and they needed some people to help, put together the backpacks. And we immediately had quite a few moms sign up to help. And now they can, they consistently help with that, which is great. The Frederick Center reached out to us and told us that they were having a vaccination clinic on Saturday. This is another one of our community partners. And we have about 5 moms that are going to help at the vaccination center. I mean, we just got that information and people were like, great, well, let's do it. So, things like that within the community, we want to be part of, we want to help. We can help with fundraising by promoting a fundraising event within our moms community here in Frederick. We can also, sometimes we get grants that we can, for specific needs for a community partner, that we can help them write the grant through our state chapter. They will help us do this. For example, this year we did a little, we started partnering with children of incarcerated parents. And they asked us for some kits that they could give out to the kids this summer during their summer picnic. So we got some money and we're able to put together these kits, which was great. And they're super excited about that. So, we have a strong group of Frederick moms volunteers, and we're ready to do the good work in our community with our partners. So we are looking for new community partners. So if anybody wants to, get in touch with us, I would love to chat with them. I think Jess is going to put an email in the chat box or somewhere that you can email Shauna, and she will get in touch with us. So that would be great. So we're just, we can do the work in our direct Frederick community, and that's what I like to organize. So
and I must say Meredith's doing a great job because I get texts from her all the time. To outreach, I'm like, wait.
Right.
So we have a great list already. We would love to, have more people. We are, Frederick Charities, the Frederick Center, Hartley House, Housing Authority, Blessings in a Backpack, Children of Incarcerated Parents, many of our faith communities, many restaurants and businesses also support us for different events. So, Frederick has really been a wonderful place to do this work. So thank you. And that's all I think I have to say.
I just wanted to add that what Meredith's work and our partnerships in the community is gun violence prevention, right? Yeah. Gun violence prevention starts with strong communities, and so in larger cities, right, there's gun violence interruption programs, right? In the city of Frederick, we're not quite there yet. We don't need that kind of intervention, but supporting these community opportunities, these opportunities to build strong communication with people throughout the community, to make people welcome and feel cared for and feel like they have a place that they can go to or people they can talk to. This is all part of gun violence prevention. And so, Meredith's work and our work with our community partners is really paramount for us now in Frederick. We're trying to, slow the gun violence in Frederick County and the city of Frederick at the source, right, by building strong communities. So, please join us as community partners. If you're part of a group that's doing the good work in Frederick County, let us know.
Yep.
And so
community safe.
So we have Eileen. Eileen, what do you do in Frederick, in Moms Demand Action in Frederick? Yeah. Frederick Moms Demand Action.
Right. So I am the lead actually for the chapter for extreme risk protective orders. Most people know them as red flag laws, right? Yeah. And so another one of our successes in Annapolis in 2018 was getting the extreme risk protective order law passed. And what that is a tool that can be used by law enforcement, by family members, and by certain healthcare professionals to ask the court to temporarily restrict someone's access to firearms. So that's a lot of words. Basically, it gives people a tool to take away firearms temporarily to someone who is in crisis or who is a danger to themselves or others. It's temporary, and it involves the court, and so a person's rights are protected. So the folks who can ask the court, who can do a petition with the court, are law enforcement, and that's, any law enforcement, sheriff, county, Frederick police, family members, and that's defined as, certainly a spouse, a roommate can be considered a family member, an intimate partner, if you're dating, if you have children in common, a former or current legal guardian. So any of those people can do a petition. That's really important because often it's a family member that feels like something's going on, things are spiraling out of control, but the person hasn't broken a law yet. The person hasn't harmed anybody yet, but oh my God, they're talking about, I'm going to kill you, or I just, I can't take it anymore. You won't have me to kick around anymore. That's kind of a, someone who might be considering suicide. So what do? Well, for the first time, people can now ask the court to say, hey, this person, this person who I love, or this person who I know really, really well, it should not have a gun right now. And when it comes to mass shootings, so, it's crazy because, as you said before, people tend to worry about gun violence when it's in their face or when it's in the news, right? And so Parkland, the shooting at the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, was what made it not hard for us to get the ERPO law passed in 2018. Well, mass shootings are just a minutia when it comes to firearm deaths in this country. Research tells us that for every 10 petitions that are brought to the court, that we save one life by suicide, right? So there are a whole lot more petitions that are done for domestic violence and for suicide than for homicide and for mass shootings. So, and every county and Baltimore City have done ERPO petitions. Frederick, during the first 2 years of the Maryland's red flag law being in existence, 63 petitions were filed in Frederick County. We don't know what they were for. We know probably about half of them were actually approved by district court. And if someone is, if you're listening to this and are worried about someone that that you believe they should not have a gun right now, you think they're a danger to themselves or others, there are two things you can do. You can call law enforcement and talk to them and ask them if this is something that they could do, right? Or if you're a family member, you can actually file the petition yourself and go to district court. You can fill out the forms and go to district court and talk to the judge at a hearing, and you can do it that way. But if you have any questions.
Now, so let me ask you a question about that. So when you say you can go file, but let's say if it's a woman that's through domestic violence, can they file unanimously, or they have to have their information there? Because that's a huge thing, right?
Huge.
Be working in law enforcement and things like that, and working alongside officers. And I'm a civilian, but I know a lot of people do not say anything because they don't want the backlash, right? So
absolutely.
Is it ways that they can do it unanimously?
Okay, so if you are a domestic violence victim, please go. Is it Hartley House? Is that yeah? please contact Hartley House. There are all kinds of different protective orders. The domestic violence protective order, they will help you file that. That will keep you safe. That will that includes a restraining order, right? To keep the dangerous person away from you. You can deal with children through that. All of those things are through a protective order. Sometimes the domestic violence center will help you at the same time file an ERPO, because if you get a temporary ERPO, so the first step, law enforcement will come and take away all firearms right away. For a domestic violence protective order, it's not until the final order, but go to a domestic violence center.
Now,
absolutely.
Now, what if it's not domestic violence? Let's talk about what just happened in Fort Detrick, right? Like, I'm not going to tell what happened, but the way it was said in the news, it was something that could have went really bad, right? And I had to say, I was laying in my bed and heard gunshots, and I was like, those are gunshots. Why is there gunshots on Fort Detrick? So I'm just like, so is there a way for them still, the question again is to submit something unanimously and not say it was them, or they have to put information in to say it was them? Okay, so they don't.
Right. It cannot be anonymous. And that's because of due process. So the person has a right to appear, not at the first, not at the temporary hearing. That's an emergency hearing, and it's called ex parte, and the person does not have to be there. The firearms will be taken away for, I think it's a week. It may be 2 weeks. Another hearing is scheduled, and the person who files the petition has to be there, or the judge will dismiss the order. That's another reason to call in law enforcement, because law enforcement doesn't care about being anonymous, right?
Right. So, go ahead.
I was going to say, and that said, different law enforcement agencies treat this in different ways across the state. And you have to know whether your sheriff's department or whether your municipal police department will help you with this.
And that's a lot of, so over this short period of time, I've learned a lot. and I think I'm a pretty educated woman. So I know, and I think that a huge thing about my podcast is that it educates the community. And I think a lot of people need to hear what you ladies are saying, because this can help them. This can help their neighbor. This can help somebody, because it's not about, like, a lot of people go, oh, they didn't do it because they just didn't feel like doing it. Some people don't do it because they don't know. So if you educate people about guns and how to prevent all these, these casualties, it's so important. And so
is. A law is only as good as, if people don't use it, it's not helpful. So we table with Be Smart, at community events. Pre-pandemic, we had a panel in Frederick that included law enforcement, Hartley House, and the Suicide Prevention Crisis Center here. And also someone who lost her, both her father and her son to firearm suicide. And we would be happy to do that again. And, maybe you could help us sponsor it or whatever, but we are always happy to educate.
I love education. So I love educating people, because that gives them the power to do so many things once they're educated. And so there is, I know mass shooting is only 1%, but that is the hot topic of globally, is about mass shootings. How are you ladies advocating about that and for that? And what is your plans moving forward? Because the mass shootings are increasing. I mean, it's kind of sad about how.
What a tragedy that, the only thing that slowed down our mass shootings was a pandemic, right? And now going back to normal is mass shootings. And as we've said many times so far, mass shootings are a minute portion of gun deaths in this country, but they are a shock to the system, and it's shameful, right? And it's what gets the news nationally and internationally, right? We are a national organization, and so we do focus on gun violence on a national level. Here in our Frederick group, we focus on the Frederick level, and in a state group, and our state team or state chapter, we focus on the gun violence in Maryland as a whole. But we are a national group, right? And so we do also, we're aware of the national gun violence problem. Mass shootings are a result of people having access to guns who should not have access to guns. Time and time again, these people have a history of domestic abuse. They have a history of failing background checks. They're getting guns because of the Charleston loophole, which allows the dealer to sell a gun if the person's background check gets held up for 3 days. If they just don't hear back from the background check national system, after 3 days, they can just sell the gun. And so people are getting guns through loopholes like that, or through private sellers. There are loopholes all over the country where people who, because of our federal background checks, shouldn't be able to have access to guns are still getting guns because on the state level, there are holes in those background check laws, and that people are still able to access guns who shouldn't have access to them. And that's where, the majority of these perpetrators of these mass shootings are found to have a record. They should not have access to guns. And these red flag laws, these extreme risk protection orders, can be helpful in removing guns from the equation in those scenarios. Of course, you can't say well, in this scenario, what law would have stopped this thing? It's a group of laws, right? And we need to just keep pushing and fighting and working state by state, and hopefully again on a national level. But it's something that we just have to keep working on. But I think the extreme risk protective orders are, a good place to start.
Right. So 56% of mass shooters give warning signs about the shooting. So red flag laws allow you to take guns away from someone based on behaviors, based on those warning signs.
And I wonder how many people actually know about the red flag law. That's the key, right?
That's why we're here, right? Education.
Right. So now we know about this. So that's definitely something we definitely should push in. Yeah.
Yeah. Adding to that, it's pretty well known that in many school shootings, anyway, mass shootings, the shooters got their guns from their own families' stockpile of guns or a friend. And so that's another reason why the Be Smart initiative to educate parents and adults, because it's the adults who need to be responsible here in locking up their guns and making sure they're kept away. And also, Moms Demand Action does support bills to ban bump stocks, assault weapons, the proliferation of assault weapons. The Charleston loophole is an example of where a mass shooter had was able to purchase an assault weapon because of a background check taking too long. And I want to mention that there is also a Students Demand Action association that's national, and that resulted as in response to the Parkland shooting, and that these are young people, high school students and college students, who are advocating for themselves and their own safety in schools. So just wanted to mention those things.
And we have a student demand action group here in Maryland. We don't have one locally in Frederick right now, but we do have one in Maryland. So
do you ladies have information on that so I can put up? So thank you, Jess. So I think I agree. I see gun violence in a whole different section of my regular day, and I still wonder how these guns get on the streets. Like, how are they still getting here? And it's so many. It's so many deaths. I mean, it's way too much for one person to digest on a regular basis. And I know that you ladies are doing great work, but I also know that you ladies are nonpartisan, correct? Organization. But as much as we want to say you guys are not political, you guys are definitely political in so many ways. So, because you guys are always in Annapolis. Like, I mean, not political, but you guys influence political leaders. And so that's just reality. Like, you wouldn't be able to get the work get done if you didn't, right? So it's like, who else would you be talking to? So how are you guys pushing your narrative on the current candidates that are and the candidates are running? Because that's what's going to set the tone. I mean, when you go, the session's over, next session, it's coming, and you guys still got to push your narrative. And so that's important.
Yep. Mm-hmm. We do, Carolyn, we do have a gun sense candidate designation, Mm-hmm. So anyone running for office can become a gun sense candidate or not. Mm-hmm. And that's an emblem that can be put on a political campaign websites and literature, and that can alert the population to who these people are and what they stand for. So I hope that you will become a gun sense candidate.
Of course I will become a gun sense candidate. I told you what I see every day and what I hear every day and what in my line of work is disheartening. And I know, like, it's not the person, it is the person, but it's the gun that, like, these guns are dangerous. And it's just, there's no way to put that. And so if we can find a way to get these guns off the streets, if we can find a way to keep kids safe, if we can find a way to decrease these mass shootings, and whatever we can do, domestic women that are suffering from domestic violence, I mean, there is so many things. I mean, I really think the heart of this is mental health also. Not only just putting the gun in place, but what are we doing for people that do have mental health issues that do need to be taken care of? And so how are we going to do that? And I think that works hand in hand. And do you guys have that type of part of your program that talks about those type of issues, or is that way out of you guys' wheelhouse?
Our wheelhouse is pretty big. Let me say that people who have mental illnesses are not the perpetrators of violence in general. They're much more likely to be a victim of violence than a perpetrator, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. So there's so if you have been federally, if you've been, I think, committed involuntarily for a certain amount of time to an inpatient unit, then you're federally prohibited from purchasing firearms. But it should be behavior and not diagnosis, because plenty of people have mental illnesses and are just fine at owning guns.
Now the reason why I say this, the reason why I point this out, is because that's what they use all the time.
Yes, they do.
Right? So it's like, this is what people hear. Like,
right.
Oh, they did this because they had some type of
disability. So the United States has no more or less people with mental illnesses than any other country. But our gun violence problem is a whole lot worse than any other country. It's not the people, it's the guns.
It's the guns.
It's the guns.
I agree with that. And I've always said that it's the guns, it's not the people. It is definitely the guns that kill people. And I hope that you ladies will continue to grow in a huge way and stay in Annapolis, stay in Frederick. And I did have I can't show all my fingernails, but I did have some of them broke, so I'm not gonna show.
That's beautiful, Carolyn.
I did have orange for the gun violence awareness. I did it in my own way. I didn't have any orange in my closet, so I was like, maybe I could do my toes and my nails orange. So that's what I did.
Thank you. Yay.
So I still support the cause, and I know you ladies are going to continue to do great things in our community. And I'm hoping that some young people will definitely join, because they are our future. And I think Jess has been really good about this is the first time that people have put this much information up. Thank you guys for this.
Yay.
Like, I always be like, could you send it to
We have so much information to share.
You ladies just kept putting it up and kept putting it up. I love that. I need to maybe make a note to people like, if you have any information, please put it so I can share. So you don't ever
sharing it. Perfect.
So thank you ladies so much for being on. Is there anything else you would like to say to the community and to the people that are watching or people that are going to watch of what you ladies plan to do and how they can get involved? I will give you the opportunity. You ladies have the floor.
Well, we have seatbelts in our cars now, and we didn't used to. It took a long time, and we've saved hundreds of thousands of lives with them. And we can do the same here. We just have to keep at it. So I hope you text READY to 64433 and join us.
Right. It's a culture shift that we're working on. And we want to thank you so much, Carolyn, for having us on.
Yes.
Getting the message out there is half the battle. As you said, how do we get people to know this? And so we're really happy to share with your audience. And, I hope that they do find a way to join us.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I thank you ladies. I've learned a lot for sure. So thank you so much. And I see you ladies in the area, local.
Yeah, that's great.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.